Amazing discovery, cleaning lady's touching attention to symptoms saved CEO's life after 30 years. Emily had always believed in the American dream. At 35, she worked her fingers to the bone, juggling 2 kids and multiple cleaning jobs in their bustling suburban town. Her heart swelled each time she managed to pay the bills on time, a small victory in a cycle of survival. One fateful day, while scrubbing the pristine glass of a corner office, she glanced at the man behind the desk, a sharply dressed CEO named Tom, and saw more than just power. She saw neglect, a man drowning in his own ambition. As she dusted framed pictures off his mahogany bookshelf, Tom leaned over his laptop, his exhaustion palpable. "Just 10 more emails," he muttered, not even looking up. Emily's gut twisted with an ache she couldn't ignore. He must be skipped lunch again. His head was in his hands, dark circles marking the corners of his eyes. It reminded her of her own parents, who sacrificed everything for success, but it never felt enough. "Mr. Tom," she found courage to speak, hesitating but hopeful. "You really should take a break. I mean, your health." But he was quick to silence her with a scoff, that condescending smile never fading. "I appreciate your input, but I know what I'm doing." He returned his focus to his work, closing the door on her concern. Yet, her heart ached every time she saw him. As the days rolled by, she noticed those signs, a tremor in his hand as he poured coffee, bitter words with little humor. Each time he dismissed her silent pleas, her instincts told her she needed to act. It was more than her job, it was her maternal drive to nurture and protect, stoked by years of her own familial struggles. Then came the day it happened. He collapsed right there in his office. One moment he was the king of the corporate jungle, and in the next, he was a crumpled silhouette on the carpet beneath his desk. Panic erupted. Emily rushed to his side, her heart racing, tears brimming in her eyes. She felt something snap inside her, a fierce will to speak for him when he couldn't. Somebody call an ambulance. She cried, knowing this was more than just a physical fall. As they waited for help, Emily's voice broke through the chaos. "Tom, please, you need to take care of yourself. You matter." Tom's faint smile returned, but this time it was laced with understanding. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. In the hospital, as the bright fluorescent lights buzzed above, there was an unexpected shift. It wasn't his well-heeled friends in suits surrounding him, it was Emily's comforting presence that eased his anxiety. She had become more than just a cleaning lady, she was a lifeline whispering truths he had long ignored. As Tom slowly recuperated, he found himself reflecting on the connection they forged. Was it really possible that a woman from a different world held the key to his salvation? With every passing day, her words haunted him softly, and he began to question everything he thought he knew about success. Could he reclaim the life he had sacrificed in pursuit of ambitions that had only left him hollow? Gabriel's heart raced with uncertainty, as he faced the prospect of change. Would he take Emily's lessons to heart, or would he retreat back to his old ways, denying the wisdom she offered? The stakes were higher than ever, and answers danced just out of reach, whispering promises of transformation and connection. Would Tom's journey towards healing lead to a deeper understanding not just of himself, but of the missed relationships that had slipped through his grasp? As Emily continued her cleaning, a quiet fire burned in her spirit. She had awakened hope in someone lost, and the path before her tangled their lives in unexpected ways. As the days turned into weeks, the hospital became a new kind of office for Tom. He lay in that stark room, waiting for his heart to heal along with his body. Each day, Emily was there. She brought the world to him: a bag of new books, a steaming cup of coffee, and chats that felt so real they made the walls of the hospital disappear. They spoke of everything and nothing, from favorite movies to childhood dreams, slowly unraveling one another in the safety of shared vulnerability. Emily spoke with a passion that caught him off guard, sharing stories of her kids, their laughter echoing in her words. Every little detail was painted in her vibrant, warm tones, and something deep within Tom shifted. Her life was a symphony of struggle, yet she approached it with grace and hope. He admired how she managed to find joy amidst her relentless challenge. In Emily, he found a spark that flickered against the coldness of his corporate world. "Sometimes, I think success is just kind of overrated," Emily said one day, her eyes glistening under the fluorescent lights. "Selling your soul for a fancy title? It doesn't feel like living, does it?" Tom's thoughts danced around her comment. It struck him hard. Could all his achievements have come at such a steep price? He stared at the void outside his hospital window, the skyline hinting at ambition, but now it felt so distant. The thought of going back to that life left a bitter taste in his mouth. He found himself wrestling with choices he had long considered right. What if there was more to explore? More to feel? Emily was peeling back the layers he thought were set in stone. He had always needed to be strong, but with her, he could dare to be vulnerable. In those quiet moments, he started to share his own stories. The weight of his childhood dreams, his father's harsh expectations, the relentless push for perfection that had made him who he was. Emily listened, her gaze encouraging yet knowing. "What would you do if you didn't have to worry about work for a while?" she asked one afternoon. "I'm not sure. Traveling maybe." Tom's heart quickened as he said it. The thought of wandering, of experiencing life without a clock dictating his every move, made his spirit soar. "Sounds amazing. Just imagine the sunsets over the Grand Canyon or tasting shrimp tacos by the beach." Emily's enthusiasm was infectious, and in that moment, Tom realized that perhaps he had forgotten how to dream, but the dream felt scary, like standing on the edge of an unknown cliff. He couldn't simply turn away from the life he built. The golden cage of his corporate empire held strong, but it was crumbling in ways he couldn't ignore. As he took Emily's hand, reaffirming a bond deeper than he ever anticipated, he felt a tug of dread. Tomorrow he would face his world again: board meetings, emails, and high-stress decisions. How could he step away from something that had defined his existence when he was still healing? Empowered by Emily's resilience, Tom asked himself if he truly wanted to return to his old life or if it was time for a leap into the unknown. What did it mean to fully live? The struggle between two worlds weighed heavily in his mind, and he knew a decision loomed: would he brave the change or retreat back to comfort? As he gazed into Emily's hopeful eyes, one thing became clear: the next step could reshape everything, not just for him, but for both of them. Could a cleaning lady show a CEO the path to true fulfillment? What if they both took the leap together? Tom woke the next morning to sunlight streaming through his hospital window, a warm glow that felt almost foreign after weeks of sterile, fluorescent lights. He blinked at the brightness, his heart racing as reality crashed back in. Today was the day he would get the news: the verdict on his future. Emily was already at his side, her presence a balm to the tightness in his chest. She sat cross-legged in the chair, her brown hair spilling over her shoulders like unfiltered sunlight. She had a book in her lap, but her eyes sparkled with excitement. "What's on your mind?" she asked, tucking a loose strand behind her ear. "Just, trying to wrap my head around everything," Tom admitted, his voice a little raspy. "What if I'm stuck in this corporate world forever?" She leaned closer, her expression open and sincere. "You're stronger than that. You're already changing just by being here, just by talking to me. That's a big deal." He smiled weakly, her faith in him grounding him for a moment. But then he felt that familiar pit of anxiety stirring in his stomach. It was time for the doctors to come through, and he had no idea what they would say. As minutes ticked by, they filled the air with stories and laughter, and for a moment, he forgot about the growing pressure of expectation waiting just outside his door. But the light-hearted banter was broken by a soft knock. The doctor entered, clipboard in hand, and the gravity of the situation descended like an anchor in the pit of his stomach. "Morning, Tom," she greeted, her tone professional but warm. The conversation felt heavy before it even began. "Good morning, doctor." His heart pounded as he met her gaze. She shuffled some papers and glanced at him with a critical eye. "It looks like your heart is healing well, and we can talk about a discharge plan. But I need to discuss some lifestyle changes." Tom swallowed hard, his mind racing with 100 thoughts. "After such a major incident, it's essential to make adjustments," she said, her voice steady yet firm. "Stress management, a healthier lifestyle, and finding a balance, it's all very important." "Yes, of course." Tom nodded, but in that moment, the implications of her words hit him like a freight train. Emily's hand found his, squeezing it tightly. He looked at her, and in her eyes, he saw the same question he was grappling with. How would he navigate this shift? "Your job, Tom, it can be a huge source of stress," the doctor continued. "Have you considered taking some time off?" It was a question he had been avoiding. The mere thought of stepping away felt like betrayal or weakness. Just a break, to clear your head," the doctor urged. "This could be a chance to explore the things you were really thinking about before all of this happened." Tom's stomach flipped. What an unimaginable idea. But then he thought of sharing sunsets with Emily, eating shrimp tacos on a beach, living instead of existing. He glanced at Emily, who was watching him expectantly, her own dreams reflected in his uncertainty. What if I took some time off?" The words slipped out before he could fully process them, that he could feel the moment shift in the air. Emily's face lit up, the joy in her expression igniting something inside him. "Seriously?" she whispered, as if afraid to break the spell. Tom felt a thrill course through his veins. Could this leap into the unknown really change everything? Could they, together, venture away from the life he had clung to for so long? But doubt crept in again as he thought of all he'd built. The years spun into a web of expectations. The uncertainty, the fear of letting go were palpable. As the doctor left, he looked at Emily, feeling the crackling tension of decision in the air. This was only the beginning, but the question loomed: was he ready to let the past go and embrace a future he couldn't yet grasp? "Tom," Emily said softly, "if you take this leap, I'll be right there with you." Those words hung like a promise between them, and as he felt the weight of the world, his old life, ready to drop away, he knew he was on the cusp of something monumental. But would he have the courage to actually jump? Tom felt the weight of Emily's words settle like warmth in his chest. The possibilities danced in his mind: beaches, road trips, late-night conversations under the stars. But each vision was met with the harsh reality of uncertainty. "Okay," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I'll take the time off." The words felt surreal, yet liberating. Emily's eyes sparkled with delight. "Really? You mean it?" He nodded, still grappling with doubts swirling around him. The decision hung in the air, bold yet fragile, like a bubble waiting for the slightest poke to burst. They spent the next few hours discussing potential adventures, places they could go and things they could do. As Tom spoke, the walls of the hospital room transformed into windows looking out onto a world full of promise. It felt exhilarating, but that thrill was woven with the fear of leaving his old self behind. "What if I can't handle it?" he admitted, his voice quavering. "What if it's easier just to go back to the routine?" "Maybe that's the problem," Emily said gently. "You've been carrying this weight for so long. Stepping away might just be what you need to find yourself again." Tom watched her, amazed at how she seemed to see through the confusion. He could feel an appreciation for her resilience and belief in him wash over him like a soft tide. "We could go hiking this weekend," she suggested. "Just you and me, out in nature. It'll be good for your heart emotionally and physically." He chuckled softly. "You know I'm not exactly the rugged outdoorsy type. But you could be. And if you don't like it, we can always change plans. The key is to have fun, right?" "Okay. Hiking it is," he said, the idea beginning to excite him. As they talked, the doctor returned, her presence pulling Tom back to the present. "Have you made a decision about your time off?" she asked, her clipboard tucked under her arm. Tom took a deep breath. "Yeah, I think I'm going to explore some options." "Good. I'll prepare the paperwork." She scribbled notes. "Keep in mind, Tom, this is a critical time for you. Embrace it and make it meaningful." The gravity of her words was undeniable. He was stepping into the unknown but also stepping away from everything he thought he wanted. After the doctor left, Emily leaned in closer, her eyes softening. "Are you ready for this?" "I'm scared," he admitted, the truth spilling from his lips. "But I want to know if I can be more than just an office worker." "You already are," she said softly. "More than you know." As the sun began to dip low in the sky, casting a golden glow through the window, Tom couldn't help but imagine the sunsets he hoped to watch with Emily outside of these sterile walls. "What about Hawaii?" he proposed suddenly. "What if we went there instead?" "Now you're talking!" Emily exclaimed, her excitement infectious. They began to brainstorm how to make it happen, and little by little, the fear that had clutched his heart began to dissolve into a mix of excitement and hope. But even as he reveled in the possibilities, the doubts lingered. Would he truly be able to start anew? Would he embrace this life willingly? "Hey," Emily's voice broke through his thoughts, "let us make a promise." "Yeah. If you jump, I'll jump with you. No looking back." He latched onto that promise, gripping it like an anchor tethered to the unknown. As they shared laughter and the excitement of planning, Tom felt an inkling of what freedom might feel like. Yet, a small voice in the back of his mind whispered about the risks ahead. What if the life he chose was less of an adventure and more of a regret? He locked eyes with Emily, the warmth of her smile battling the cold air of doubt. He knew they were on the edge of something significant, but how high was the leap? He took a deep breath, ready to embrace whatever came next, but in the pit of his stomach, the fluttering of fear reminded him, sometimes jumping meant risking a fall. And somehow, he was going to have to face it. "Tomorrow," he said, an edge of determination in his voice. "Tomorrow, I'll really start to figure this out." For now, they sat amidst the fading light, both ready and uncertain, the future stretching ahead like an untamed adventure just waiting to be explored. The morning sun broke through the curtains, bathing the room in a soft golden light. Tom stretched, feeling the weight of the promise he had made echo in his mind. Today was the day he would start making plans for a new beginning. As he got ready, he felt a mix of excitement and fear. His heart raced like it was sprinting down the street, and despite the daylight flooding in, a small shadow of doubt lingered. What if this was all a big mistake? He shook it off. This was his chance, after all. With one last glance in the mirror, he stepped out of the hospital, leaving behind the sterile environment that had kept him captive for too long. Emily was waiting for him in the lobby. She stood with a warm smile, radiating energy that was hard to resist. "Ready?" she chirped, her enthusiasm brightening the space around them. "Ready as I'll ever be," he replied, trying to sound more confident than he felt. Tom could feel his nervousness creeping back as they headed out, but Emily walked alongside him with an easy stride, her confidence infectious. They slipped into her car, the familiar scent of coffee lingering inside as she turned up the music. "Let's south just drive for a bit," she said, and Tom nodded, grateful for the spontaneity. The open road stretched ahead, promising adventure. They drove past fields and little shops, the world outside becoming a blur of colors. "Where do you want to go?" Emily asked, glancing over at him. "I don't know. Somewhere we can see nature," he said, as an image of mountains crossed his mind. He remembered his childhood trips to the national parks, how magic it felt to be surrounded by trees and the sound of rivers. "Then let us hit the mountains," she exclaimed. "I know a great trail. It's not too far from here." Before long, they were climbing higher, the air growing fresher and crisper. The drive soothed Tom's racing heart, and the anticipation built inside him like a balloon, slowly inflating. Maybe this was exactly what he needed. When they arrived at the trailhead, the trail wasn't too much to look at, just a simple dirt path lined with trees. But as they stepped onto it, something shifted in Tom. The bustle of his old life started to fade away. They walked together, the crunch of leaves beneath their feet synchronizing with the rhythmic sound of their conversation. Emily shared stories of her own adventures, her laughter echoing through the trees. Tom listened, enchanted by her tales and relieved by the growing ease between them. "Look!" Emily called, pointing ahead. "Isn't that beautiful?" They reached a lookout point, and the view stole Tom's breath. Valleys stretched out below them, bathed in hues of green and patches of vibrant wildflowers. The mountains loomed majestically in the background, their peaks kissed by the sun. For a moment, Tom felt small yet completely at home. "This is amazing," he breathed, his doubts receding like a tide. "Just wait until sunset," Emily said softly. "It gets even better." They settled on a rock, the cool surface grounding him in a way he had never expected. As they sat in comfortable silence, he noticed a feeling welling inside, a sense of belonging he hadn't felt in a long time, but just as he began to feel the calm settle around him, a text from his boss flashed on his phone screen. "Check on your project." The weight of old responsibilities crashed back into his thoughts like a cold wave. Would he ever really break free? Could he ever leave behind the confines of his old life? Tom sighed, and Emily turned to him with concern etched on her face. "What's wrong?" "Just thinking about work." "It's creeping back in," he admitted, revealing the tension coiling around his heart. "Don't let it. You're here now. This moment is yours," she urged, her voice a warm anchor. He looked at her, realizing how deeply he wished to let go of the pressure. But could a single hike really change everything? In that moment, the sun began to dip, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, igniting a fire within him. Shouldn't he heed the promise he made, not just for him but also for Emily? As twilight wrapped around them, Tom felt the stirrings of courage in his heart. "You're right," he said slowly. "Maybe it's time to start fresh." But just as he spoke those words, a shiver of apprehension tightened his chest. What would that actually mean? Emily smiled softly, urging him on. "Promise me you'll really try." "I promise," he replied, though part of him still trembled at the edges of that declaration. As the last rays of sunlight faded, Tom sensed the adventure wasn't just about the places they'd visit, it was about stepping into a life that felt like living again. But as darkness enveloped them, an unfamiliar fear whispered in his ear, questioning how deep that leap of faith could go, what awaited him beyond the shadows. The stars blinked overhead as Tom sat in the fading light, Emily's words echoing in his mind. The warmth of the moment faded into uncertainty, and a chill crept in, not just from the air, but from the fear hiding in the corners of his thoughts. What if he didn't know how to start fresh? What if the past was too strong to break free from it? He stole a glance at Emily, who stared out over the mountains, a gentle smile illuminating her face. "Hey," she said quietly, breaking the silence. "You okay?" Tom turned to her, sidestepping his turmoil. "Yeah, just thinking about everything." "Everything or nothing?" she teased, but her tone also held genuine concern. She moved a bit closer, as if that small gesture could bridge the gap between his doubt and her encouragement. Tom shifted, the cool rock beneath him forcing him to confront his fears. "Everything. I think I've built up so much pressure for this new beginning that maybe I'll just disappoint myself." Emily shook her head, her voice firm yet soothing. "You won't disappoint yourself. You're not the person you were. That's the whole point, right? You're here because you want something different." Her words wrapped around him like a cozy blanket, yet he still felt exposed. "But how do I even start? What if I screw it up?" "Then you learn," she replied simply. "Everyone starts somewhere. You can't expect to build a house without the first brick." His heart raced again, but this time with a mix of fear and burgeoning hope. What if she was right? Could he really have a second chance? As the sunset bathed the mountains in an ethereal glow, Tom decided to open that door he had kept locked for so long. Okay, he breathed. I want to start small. What's the first step? Emily's eyes sparkled. Let's take this hike seriously. Enjoy it. Feel it. No distractions. Just us and the mountains. Tom nodded, and together they stood, ready to embark on a journey that felt bigger than just the trail ahead. With each step, he felt lighter, as if the burdens he had carried were left behind with every crunch of gravel beneath their feet. What do you want to do? Emily asked as they made their way deeper into the woods, the scent of pine filling the air. I used to love painting, he admitted, surprising himself. But I haven't touched a brush in years. Emily beamed, a flash of inspiration in her eyes. Then paint. We'll find you a canvas someday. Let us schedule time for it, just like work. You have to treat your dreams like your responsibilities. She spoke with such conviction. It felt empowering. Tom felt joy bubbling up, nudging against those old doubts that had kept him locked in chains. I could do that, he said, gaining confidence with each step. As they walked, they encountered a stream, its clear waters glistening. Emily paused, bending down to dip her fingers into the cold, refreshing liquid. We can stop here and take a moment. Let us breathe in this life we're diving into. Tom laughed, her energy contagious. Okay. He joined her at the water's edge, and for a brief moment, he felt like a child peering into a new world, curious, eager, free. But as they stood beside the stream, the shadows of his old life loomed again. What if it's hard, though? What if I can't handle it? What if those old habits creep back in? Then we fight them together, she replied, her gaze unwavering. You don't have to do this alone. Everyone leans on someone else sometimes. Just promise me you won't shut me out. Tears stung at the corners of Tom's eyes as he nodded, overwhelmed by a wave of gratitude. I promise. I really want to try this. I just hope I can be the person I want to be. Tom, Emily said, her voice earnest, you already are. Just let yourself believe it. In that moment, as twilight swirled around them, something shifted in the air. Hope paired with a touch of fear, but he felt anchored. Standing at the edge of a new path, Tom could see the beginning of a light breaking through the uncertainty. Suddenly, a quick rustle came from nearby bushes. The sound pulled them both from their conversation, a cacophony of splashes echoed through the trees. Something was moving in the underbrush. Startled, Emily whispered, "What was that?" Tom turned, heartbeat racing anew. I don't know, but it didn't sound like a rabbit. What emerged could change everything. From the bushes, a small creature burst forth with a flurry of movement, its sight sending a rush of adrenaline coursing through Tom's veins. A young deer, its fur mottled with spots, hesitated at the edge of the stream. Its wide eyes blinked at them, both curious and cautious, as if trying to gauge whether the humans meant harm. Look! Emily whispered breathlessly, her excitement bubbling over. They backed away slowly, allowing the deer space, and in that stillness, everything around them seemed to hold its breath. The creek gurgled as the deer took a tentative step toward the water, its small hooves delicate on the rocky bank. Tom watched, captivated, feeling like he was witnessing a fragile moment in time. It made him acutely aware of the life surrounding him, the beauty of simplicity that he had almost forgotten. What if it's not just a deer? Emily murmured, her eyes sparkling. What if it's a sign? You know, a good omen. Tom felt a small smile tugging at his lips. Like a nudge from the universe. He chuckled, feeling a flicker of comfort in her theory. Exactly. Emily said, nodding enthusiastically. Maybe it's telling you that change is possible, that you've stepped into something new. As the deer bent down to drink, he realized how much he wanted to believe in that possibility. The idea of embracing new beginnings, of shedding layers like the season of autumn, felt exhilarating. But was he ready to let go of his fears? Could he truly embrace this new chapter without the shadows of his past creeping in? And what about you? Tom asked suddenly. Are you ready to leap into the unknown too? Her expression shifted, becoming more serious. I guess I am, she replied. I've been afraid of getting close, afraid of what comes after friendship. But with you, I feel like I would be okay taking that risk. Tom's heart raced at her honesty. It was rare, so raw, and it resonated deep down. You're willing to step into that? To take a leap with me? Emily nodded, her gaze unwavering. Why not? Life's unpredictable, and we could either miss out or embrace it with open arms. The deer, finished drinking, raised its head and met their eyes one last time before bounding back into the thicket. Tom felt a pang of loss, as if saying goodbye to a reminder of the moment, but there was also relief. The deer had sparked something profound within him, courage mingled with anticipation. Okay, he said, finding a new steadiness in his voice. Let us leap together. Just promise me we won't shy away from the hard stuff. Deal, she replied, eyes brimming with trust. We can do this together. No running away. He chuckled softly, then added, and let us go paint as soon as we can. Emily laughed, the sound spilling into the twilight air, carrying warmth and joy that seemed to settle over them like a comforting blanket. But just as the evening took on a different kind of stillness, they heard a rustling again. This time, it was louder and more insistent. Tom's heart dropped as a figure shifted behind the trees, emerging into view. A man, rugged and wild-looking, stepped into the clearing, an almost primal intensity about him. The chill of uncertainty crept back, overwhelming the warmth of their shared moment. Who are you? Tom called out, instinctively stepping closer to Emily, protectiveness surging through him as uncertainty morphed into a knot in his stomach. As the man drew nearer, a flicker of recognition crossed his face. I'm here for answers, he said, his voice deep and resolute. And you might just have what I need. Tom felt a surge of fear and curiosity collide, leaving him to wonder if this mysterious figure was a part of the brighter future he dared to envision or a specter from the past he desperately wanted to leave behind. What would this encounter bring? The man loomed closer, his eyes steady, yet they held a weight that seemed to press against Tom's chest. The evening light flickered between the trees, casting shadows that danced around them. Tom glanced at Emily, her face a mix of intrigue and fear, reflecting his own turmoil. Answers about what? Tom challenged, though doubt rattled in his voice. Was this man just a passing figure, or did his presence mean something deeper? The forest, the man replied, his tone softer now, as if aware of the tension. And you too. He paused, assessing them. Your lives. I know you're searching for something. Tom's stomach churned. He didn't like how this stranger seemed to peel back layers of his thoughts with a single glance. What do you know about us? He pressed. I know you are both at a crossroads. The man continued, his voice resonating like the distant call of the woods. You fear change but crave it. And I can help you find the path. Emily stepped forward, her curiosity overcoming her initial apprehension. How could you help us? Because I have been where you are. I've faced my fears and emerged. He hesitated, searching for the right words. Transformed. There's a journey out there, waiting for you, if you're willing. Tom looked at Emily, silently gauging her reaction. There was something undeniably magnetic about this man, a pull he didn't quite understand. But could they really trust him? Why should we believe you? Tom asked, crossing his arms in defiance. It's natural to doubt. The man nodded, still unwavering. But think of the deer you just saw. Life doesn't hold back from change, and neither should you. This moment you shared. He gestured between the two of them. It's part of something much larger. Tom couldn't shake the feeling of vulnerability nudging at the edges of his mind. Could this be a trap? Yet, if there was even a hint of truth in what this man suggested, wouldn't it be worth exploring? Emily, ever the dreamer, leaned closer. What do we need to do? A smile cracked on the man's rugged face, relief washing over him. Join me tomorrow at dawn. There's a place not far from here, hidden deep within the woods. I'll show you the beauty of confronting what lies ahead. You'll find not just answers, but the strength to embrace them. The offer hung thick in the air, a promise wrapped in mystery. Tom's heart raced, thoughts colliding. A part of him yearned to leap headfirst into the unknown, while another grasped tightly to familiarity. What if we find something we're not ready for? Tom finally voiced, vulnerability bubbling to the surface. That's precisely the point, isn't it? The man met his gaze with a steady intensity. Growth doesn't come without discomfort. But you can't truly find joy without seeking it first. Time froze as the weight of the decision pressed down on them. Tom felt a tidal wave of emotions, hope and fear fighting for dominance. To embrace change meant foregoing the safety of the past, yet he couldn't shake the feeling that whatever this was, this man, this moment, it could be the catalyst for everything he had longed for. Okay, Emily said, decisively stepping forward, her hand finding Tom's. We'll come. Tom's breath hitched. He hadn't expected her to agree so easily, but as he looked into her eyes, he realized their connection was stronger than his doubts. Tomorrow then, the man nodded, satisfaction gleaming in his eyes, yet as they turned to leave, Tom couldn't help but glance back, the shadow swallowing up the wild-looking figure. What awaited them in the morning? And more importantly, would the answers they sought set them free or chain them to their fears? The wild woods, dark and looming, felt both inviting and intimidating. What were they stepping into? The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple as Tom and Emily made their way back home. The air was thick with unsaid words, an electricity that buzzed between them. Tom could feel his heart drumming in his chest, a beat that echoed the uncertainty swirling in his thoughts. What do you think he meant by the forest and your lives? Emily mused, her voice barely above a whisper. Tom shrugged, his mind racing. I don't know, but it feels significant. Like he sees more than we do. They fell silent, the weight of the man's words hanging in the air. Each step felt heavier, as if the ground itself was demanding they turn back. But Tom couldn't shake the feeling that tomorrow would change everything. Later that night, lying in bed, Tom stared at the ceiling, shadows creeping along the walls. He turned over to see Emily asleep, her face calm and serene. A wave of tenderness washed over him, mixed with worry. What if they were stepping into something dangerous? Or worse, what if they found nothing at all? As dawn broke, he woke to find Emily already dressed, a spark of excitement in her eyes. I can't believe it's finally here, she exclaimed, her enthusiasm contagious. What if it's a waste of time? Tom hesitated, torn between doubt and a strange hope. I don't think it will be, she replied, her determination sparkling in the morning light. We'll never know unless we try. He admired her resolve, feeling his own fears slowly melt away. Maybe this journey was more about them and less about the unknown. Maybe it was a chance to confront what had been holding them back. Leaving the house, the cool morning air brushed against him like a gentle reassurance. Together, they headed toward the woods, the trees standing tall as if guarding ancient secrets. Somehow, they felt like giants watching over their shared destiny. As they reached the familiar spot where they had seen the stranger, Tom's heart raced anew. The chilling echo of doubt crept back in. What if they were wrong? Do you think he'll be here? Emily asked, her voice breaking into his thoughts. He said at dawn, he replied, scanning the trees for signs of life. For a moment, the silence felt suffocating, as if the forest itself was holding its breath alongside them. Then, a rustle broke the tension. There, stepping into the clearing, was the man, his presence as imposing and yet reassuring as the morning sun breaking through the canopy. A knowing smile graced his face. Welcome, he greeted, the warmth of his voice flooding the space. You came. We're here, Emily confirmed, her hand intertwining with Tom's, a lifeline in the daunting unknown. Are you ready to embrace what you might discover? He asked, his gaze piercing yet kind. Tom swallowed hard, the weight of the moment settling on his shoulders. This was it. The beginning of something he couldn't quite define but felt he desperately needed. We are, he said, surprising even himself with the conviction in his voice. With a nod, the man beckoned them deeper into the woods. The sunlight filtered through leaves, dancing on the forest floor like the promise of what lay ahead, but as they moved forward, Tom felt another pang of uncertainty. What would they uncover? Would it elevate them or pull them apart? The woods felt alive with whispers, as if the trees themselves held stories waiting to be told. What lay in wait could change everything, but could they handle the truth? As they dove deeper into the woods, the sunlight broke through the canopy in golden rays, illuminating the path ahead. The scent of earth and new beginnings enveloped them like a warm embrace. Tom felt a mix of excitement and apprehension swirl in his gut. Each step echoed the words of the mysterious man, you must confront what lies ahead. The forest seemed to breathe around them. Birds chirped melodies of hope, while leaves rustled, a chorus of encouragement. Emily walked beside him, her hand secure in his, and for the first time, he felt the weight of his fears begin to lift. Are you ready for this? She asked, her eyes reflecting both light and determination. He took a deep breath, grounding himself. More than ever. I want to discover what I've been missing. There was a resolve in his voice he hadn't felt in years. A flicker of hope ignited within him, daring him to believe in possibility. Suddenly, the man halted in a small clearing where the sunlight poured in like liquid gold. This is where it all begins, he said, his voice steady and inviting. This spot is sacred, filled with the energy of those who dared to change. Now, it's your turn to dig deep. Tom looked around, wonder and fear mingling. The air was electric with potential. Close your eyes, the man instructed. Focus on what you're seeking, whether it's answers, courage, or even forgiveness. Anything that has held you back, confront it now. Tom exchanged a hesitant glance with Emily before slowly closing his eyes. Silence enveloped him, and he felt the rush of memories, a flood of moments where his fears had gripped him, moments where he believed that success meant sacrificing happiness. The corporate meetings, the late nights, the pressures, it all crashed over him like waves, but then came Emily's laughter, the warmth of their mornings together, her words of encouragement. He pictured the majestic mountains, vibrant sunsets, and the joy that came with taking a chance. It began to crystallize in his mind the desire for a life filled with laughter, love, and authenticity. The chains of his past clanked softly, but they felt lighter now, as if his heart was telling him he had the power to break free. With that thought, he opened his eyes, taking in the beauty of the forest, the colors vibrant, the sound of rustling leaves a soft lullaby. I want to be more. I want to live, he said, voice firm. The man smiled knowingly. Then embrace it. Let the past be a lesson, not a chain. Emily squeezed Tom's hand tighter, her eyes shining with pride. Let us do this together, she whispered, her trust reinforcing his resolve. Now, offer what no longer serves you to the forest. Leave it here, and step into the new. The man guided. Tom stepped forward, a sense of ceremony surrounding him. Fear of failure, fear of stagnation, fear of joy. I release you. He shouted, feeling the weight dissipate with every word. The earth held his burdens in silence. As the echoes faded into the trees, a wave of peace washed over him. He turned to Emily, and in her eyes, he saw reflections of all he wished to achieve. As the man looked on, his expression shifted from one of guidance to quiet approval. You're on the right path, but remember, it's about who you become during the journey. Tom nodded, feeling empowered. What's next? Next, you explore what you cherish most, the man replied, gesturing towards the sun-dappled pathway leading further into the woods. Do something that fills your heart. With newfound determination, Tom chuckled, addressing Emily, how about we paint? That was my forgotten passion. Her face lit up, and she cheered, let us make that our first adventure." They began walking, laughter spilling into the air. The man watched them, a knowing glint in his eye, as if satisfied with the changes already unfolding that eye, and the following days, they painted together, color splashing across canvases like dreams coming to life. The two formed a bond that thrived not just on their shared experiences but also on a desire to support and uplift each other. They took hikes, shared stories, and even traveled. Rediscovering pockets of joy in everyday moments, Tom found a new rhythm, letting go of rigid schedules, embracing spontaneous adventures. He reached out to old friends, rekindling connections lost under burdens of work. Months passed, and as he stood on a rocky hilltop one golden sunset evening, hand in hand with Emily, he realized how far they had come. The vibrant colors mirrored not just the beauty before him but the warmth radiating in his heart. Life was no longer merely about survival, it was a canvas filled with possibility. "Can you believe we made it here?" he asked, his voice rich with emotion. Emily smiled, the horizon reflecting in her eyes. "And we'll keep going, won't we?" "Absolutely," he answered firmly, knowing that together, they could face any challenge the world tossed their way. As they descended into laughter and light, Tom felt an undeniable truth take shape within. It wasn't about where they'd been, it was about the journey they chose to share. At that moment, he knew they had uncovered the true essence of living together. The woods echoed with new life, and the whispers of change filled the air with undeniable promise, and as they strolled hand in hand, Tom's heart was full, knowing they were not just surviving but truly thriving. These were the moments that mattered most, every step forward an affirmation of life, love, and hope. Now is the time to turn the page. If you want more stories that inspire and transform, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel. This is the moment to show your support. Hit that like button to feed the algorithm and help more people discover the magic of storytelling. We want to hear from you. Leave a comment down below sharing your feelings about this incredible journey. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support means everything.